This is Bryce Burge, host of Your Soccer Passport. Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media.
This is Jenna Burt, host of the Confessions of a Military Spouse podcast here on Public House Media. Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media. Once you're done with this episode, I hope you'll come check out my show, Confessions of a Military Spouse, where we dig deep and talk about the unspoken hard truths of what it's really like to be a military spouse. A new show comes out bi-weekly. Don't forget to subscribe on iTunes so you never miss an episode of Confessions of a Military Spouse. Thanks again for checking out the following broadcast on Public House Media.
The latest headlines.
The Houston Astros, the defending World Series champions, got better adding Garrett Cole.
The insightful interviews.
Rick Saratella, NFL Draft Bible. With how much emphasis is put on the position, yet how many over the last couple of years we've had questions. Why do we put such an emphasis on drafting a quarterback number one overall?
The bottom line is there's not enough good quarterbacks to go around. And I think with the new CBA, it's really a low-risk gamble now. If you look at the playoff teams, common denominator, good quarterback play.
The hottest takes.
I think the guy to blame is the one guy who hasn't left yet. I think Russell Westbrook is one of the bigger problems in Oklahoma City.
Can all be found on Press Row. Broadcasting is part of the Public House Media Network. Here's your host.
It doesn't matter what your name is.
Christian Heimall.
What is up, everybody? Welcome on Press Row. Christian Heimall here with you on this Thursday, April 11th, 2019. We got a lot to get to today. NBA playoffs set to begin in just a little bit. NHL playoffs as well. I'll give you my predictions for both. The Masters is this weekend. We'll touch on that in just a little bit as well. Brandon Robinson, Scoop B Radio, is going to join us and touch on the NBA playoffs about what in the world is going on in Lakerland with Magic Johnson stepping down all of a sudden. It's getting weirder and weirder in the NBA. Rob Pelinka is staying around. There's so much that goes on. It's very, very strange. So we'll get to that in just a little bit, plus R.J. Barrett declaring for the NBA draft and where he could fall. But I want to begin with one of the things that, listen, I understand that people all want to freak out. And they all want excitement, and they all want to have a hot take. But let me tell you something. This past national championship game was tremendous. The Final Fours were great. They were awesome. And the people who were upset that Zion or North Carolina, the sexy teams weren't in it, the energetic teams weren't in it, I'm sorry. This is how college basketball is supposed to be played. Good, hard, scrappy, rock fight, defensive type battles, and you got that in the Final Four with Auburn and Virginia, Michigan State, Texas Tech. You should have bet the over. I'm sure a lot of people bet the under in the national title game, but the guys who went against the grain and voted for and took the over made out pretty good with that 85-77 victory for Virginia in overtime. But this is how college basketball and what makes college basketball so great. The differences between college and the NBA. Collegiately, there are stars, don't get me wrong, and we're going to miss Zion Williamson, the next one, when the one and done is gone in a couple of years. We're going to miss having those tremendous freshmen, but we're going to get those people, those teams like Virginia, like Michigan State, like Gonzaga, like Xavier, Butler, that stay together. You're going to see more of those, and that cohesion is going to be really, really cool. And the beauty of college basketball that was the 80s and the 90s when you had to stay and you stayed longer is going to come back, I think, because you're going to get to notice and know some of these players a lot more. Luke May will still be around. Kennedy Meeks and those guys will still be around at those big blue bloods, but the days of the one and dones and John Calipari and all of that are going to be gone. But this is what college basketball is about. It's about the team, the unit, all collectively working together. The sum of the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. And that's what you saw in the Final Four. It was amazing on all ends. I loved every single second of both games. Listen, I'm not going to get into the replay. I'm not going to get into the fouling of Kyle Guy. It was the right call, 100% the right call. I don't care that they missed the double dribble, whatever it is. But this was exciting basketball. It was really cool. And it was fun for me to see good, hard, fundamental defense. And I'm sorry if you didn't enjoy it because Zion wasn't in. But you know what? I hope you tuned in. I hope you were entertained because guess what? This is how basketball is going to be played for the next 5-10 years in college basketball. This is how it's going to turn in the NBA eventually because all of this is cyclical. It will eventually come back around. This three-point shooting, high-scoring affair will eventually go back to the days of Tim Duncan and Shaquille O'Neal and Akeem Olajuwon just hounding and hammering the boards. Charles Barkley being big, dominating presences in the paint. It's going to change back that way. I don't know when it's going to happen, but you're going to get back to that style, and it's going to be really, really fun and exciting. And I hope you guys are here for it because guess what? I certainly am. And it was a lot of fun to watch. Congratulations to Virginia and Tony Bennett. Kyle Guy is the most outstanding player. This was the greatest redemption story, I think, in college basketball history, to be the first one seed ever to lose as a 16, to win a share of the ACC title, to be a number one seed again, to make it to the Final Four, to win the national championship. It's really, really cool what they've done. And give Tony Bennett a lot of credit. Give those kids a lot of credit because this is an organization. And I say organization, we don't think of that in college basketball, but that's what it is. It's the culture. It's the organizational culture that Virginia has. Chris Beard at Texas Tech, I've loved him for years. I'm so happy to see him doing well. That's the style of basketball that you're going to see a lot more, and it's really, really cool to see it all happen. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll stick around a little bit. When we come back, Brandon Robinson will graduate to the pros. We'll talk NBA playoffs, what in the world's going on in Lakerland. We'll answer your questions as well coming up in just a little bit. You're on Press Row, broadcasting as part of the Public House Media Network.
Want to be part of the show? Go to Facebook and search Press Row Podcast Public House Media. Or find us on Twitter and Instagram at Press Row PHM. You can also email the program, pressrowphm@gmail.com.
Hi, this is Emily.
This is Lindsay.
And this is Elizabeth,
co-hosts of Beauties and Headcanons here on Public House Media. Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media.
Once you are done with this episode, we hope you'll come check out our show, Beauties and Headcanons, where we talk nerdy to you about fandoms, fan fiction, and all pop culture for nerds that you can think of. A new show comes out every Friday.
Don't forget to subscribe on iTunes so you never miss an episode of Beauties and Headcanons. Thanks again for checking out the following broadcast on Public House Media.
This is Press Row with Christian Heimall, a Public House Media podcast.
Welcome back on Press Row. Christian Heimall here with you on this Thursday, April 11th. NBA playoffs set to begin here in just a couple of days, yet for some reason, I can't be surprised that even though not being in the playoffs, the Lakers still find the way to dominate the headlines in the world of the NBA. And to help us talk about it all is our favorite NBA insider that we can think of. It's Mr. Scoop B himself, Brandon Robinson, back on the program. Brother, man, always good to have you.
Man, I got to look out for my fellow house supporters.
always appreciate the pride connection there. So let's just jump right in. What in the world happened in Lakerland? I mean, with everything that's going on, Magic Johnson stepping down, the season it was, what happened here for Magic to step away from the Lakers?
I need one of my favorite gospel singers, Shirley Caesar, to kind of step in here and say, you name it, everything. Starting from the summer was this expectation. It was almost like your mom promised to take you to Chuck E. Cheese all year long, and you're not going. You get LeBron James. There was a situation where Magic Johnson got it, the guy that they wanted, and he wanted to be there. And then the season happened, and the catalyst to the point of just what happened was two things. One, as I reported in October, the Lakers were making a move to acquire Anthony Davis at the trading deadline, which is February 7th. It did not happen for a multitude of reasons. After doing some research, did find out that Dell Demps, former general manager of the New Orleans Pelicans, actually kind of in some ways wanted it to happen. He didn't have the final say. And then, of course, December 25th, the Christmas game against the Golden State Warriors, LeBron James hurts his groin, and as I reported on January 11th, it was more complex. That was actually reported, and he came back the 31st of January, but we're finding out in the news later that basically he should have sat out the whole year and he came back too soon. So a lot of stuff there, and players on the Lakers don't necessarily trust the front office, and they're leery of LeBron James because of the Anthony Davis trade.
Yeah, it's so weird, and I thought someone asked this on the show last week. How you classify this as a failure for the Lakers. And for me, not making the playoffs, don't get me wrong, that's the reason why LeBron was there. And no, I don't think anybody expected them to win an NBA championship in year one, but at least make the playoffs. That being said, the bigger failure to me was the Anthony Davis situation. And Magic Johnson had said, if I can't get free agents here, I'll step away. I wasn't expecting it to be right before the playoffs when the season's over, but how much of it was the turmoil that surrounded that Anthony Davis trade and kind of the almost toxic feel around the Lakers locker room following all of that?
It was that, all of the things you mentioned, and I'll add on, I spoke to a couple of people over the last couple of days. I've been in Chicago on a press run, and there's never a dull moment. The Lakers I was actually in the United Center last night, heard like everybody else, but went through my phone and did my due diligence, and from what I'm told, it was a power struggle between Jeannie Buss and Magic Johnson. You saw that in the over 40-minute press conference that Magic Johnson had before the game yesterday, that he didn't even speak with Jeannie Buss yet. He made this decision. And people that I speak with or have spoken with have said that there's something much deeper than this. A lot of it had to do with the Luke Walton thing. And you saw that kind of being floated in the news by ESPN's Dave McMenamin, who basically said that, Luke Walton and Magic Johnson hadn't spoken in about 2 weeks. And then, boom, you saw what was to happen next. I was on the show doing a live show on WGN, and I saw that on the bottom line at ESPN about the Luke Walton game, and then maybe 2 hours later, or Luke Walton situation 2 hours later, you saw the Magic Johnson step down. There was definitely a lot of leaking and things going back and forth behind the scenes, which is the Lakers, even with the Anthony Davis situation. But it's a power struggle. I can tell you that Rob Pelinka and Magic Johnson, a lot of teams didn't necessarily get along with Rob Pelinka as far as negotiating trades. He's a nice guy to me. I've had interaction with Rob. I actually spoke to him at a Jordan party during All-Star Weekend, told him, I wish you guys well. Sorry that you guys didn't get what you got, but hopefully this summer it'll be a different story. And he said, thank you. But Magic Johnson is definitely the charmer, and definitely they played the good cop, bad cop in that situation. But it looks like Luke Walton is staying. I can tell you that there were reports that Jason Kidd was a candidate for the coaching position. We have to see what happens next with the Lakers. I can tell you that Jerry West, as well as David Griffin, are candidates for president of basketball operations for the Los Angeles Lakers, and that's what I have to do right now.
That's so interesting to hear you say Jerry West because of what he's doing, just north, and what he's been able to help build. So how much of this, too, and we're speaking with Brandon Robinson, Scoop B Radio here, how much of this has to do with what does this do for LeBron's future? Not the Lakers. Let's ignore the Lakers for right now as a franchise, but what does this do for LeBron's future? Because he seems to be the most shocked out of anybody that Magic steps down.
Yeah, Magic was the guy who brought him in, and what I can say to you is that I spoke to someone a few hours ago and said that Magic and LeBron spoke at length via phone today. LeBron did not show up for the exit press conference, or exit meetings. One of the reasons is actually because I'm told from a source within the Brooklyn Nets organization that he is headed to New York to see Dwayne Wade's final game at the Barclays Center this evening, along with Carmelo Anthony, Gabrielle Union, and Hassan Whiteside is actually running a charity event with his stepmother at the game tonight. But what I'll say to you is, as it relates to LeBron James, the whole clutch conglomeration between, Rich Paul and making some things happen, or getting Anthony Davis to request a trade, a lot of people feel as though it was collusion, and I know that Jeannie Buss was not on board. There were reports about LeBron James potentially being traded at the deadline. I had heard rumblings of it from someone on the Cleveland side, someone I spoke to, and they said to me, that was a really, really, really realistic thing from what they were hearing. And they told me, don't be surprised if the Lakers do try to make something happen in the summer. I have not fact-checked on it, but now that I saw what happened with Magic yesterday, it makes me ask some questions. Were the Lakers really that upset about the situation? And also, how much did the Magic Johnson-Anthony Davis trade really affect Lakers ownership and affect the coaching staff, and why everybody's just not on the same page?
It's going to be really interesting, especially with this free agency market. And I want to bring it up because you were one of the guys, probably the only guy, a couple of months ago made major headlines saying you were hearing Kevin Durant to the Lakers, and it's been a topic of conversation throughout the season. Number one, let me ask you, do you still feel Kevin at this point is going to LA? And number two, how much does that maybe help play into some of this role?
If you ask me today if he's still coming to the Los Angeles Lakers, I would say yes. But I also have to check in with that source now because the Magic Johnson thing changes things. But the thing about it is, oftentimes deals like that happen a season before.
Right.
People have made up their mind. LeBron James made up his mind the year before, and I was hearing that on the advertising side.
Right.
I spoke to someone at a major company, I don't want to put their name out there, that said that they knew in their office, it was the talk of the town, they knew by about this time last year that LeBron James was going to join the Los Angeles Lakers. And I will tell you that when the whole Kevin Durant thing that I reported on September 17th, I'll never forget it, it's my sister's birthday. What I will tell you is maybe a week before, Kevin Durant and LeBron James taped their boardroom episode that, Kevin Durant, his television show on ESPN Plus. And I know that the person who shared that with me has had conversations with people that just are in the know, I'll say that. And it was shared with me around that time. And again, things have changed. Nobody expected LeBron James' groin injury to happen.
Right.
Nobody expected the Lakers. Many didn't expect the Lakers not to make the playoffs this year. And I'll add, I don't think anybody expected Magic Johnson to step down. So it's a soap opera that is LeBron James. We should be talking about Dwayne Wade, not Magic Johnson.
So let me ask you this before, because I do want to ask you about Dwayne in a moment. But with the NBA playoffs starting here in just a little bit, any surprises to expect, or is this just, it's time for Golden State to turn it on and win another one?
I don't think you should sleep on Golden State ever, but I would also add, don't sleep on the Portland Trail Blazers, don't sleep on the Oklahoma City Thunder, and don't sleep on the Houston Rockets. I don't think that the Golden State Warriors are clear-cut favorite this year, but I don't think they're dead either.
Mm-hmm. Not definitely. You're not wrong there. And then, so in the East, I mean, anything surprising, or are we going to see Milwaukee dominate like they have for most of the season? Are we going to see Boston turn it around? Are we going to see Philadelphia maybe make a run again?
I like the Milwaukee Bucks. I like Giannis Antetokounmpo, but I also think Philadelphia is nothing to sneeze at either.
All right. Last thing we want to ask you here, we know you were short on time. Brandon Robinson, Scoop B Radio, joining us here. You mentioned it, final NBA game on Wednesday night. The legacy of Dwayne Wade and what he's done. I know Paul Pierce made comments about his career being better. I'm going to let basketball people debate that one. You know me as a Celtics fan, I will always stay with the truth. But Dwayne Wade and what Dwayne Wade with his career and what he's meant to the city of Miami more than anything else. What can you say about his legacy in the NBA?
He's the true Flex Sojourner. Grand opening, grand closing. I actually spoke with Dwayne at his Spades party for All-Star Weekend, and you can see it on my Instagram page. I posted something yesterday. You follow me, Scoop_B. I told Dwayne, I said, you have to appreciate your heroes while they're living. I told Chris Tucker that at that party, too. You guys, getting both, have been the soundtrack of my life. Dwayne Wade has been part of my life since I graduated on television and covering since I graduated high school in 2003. He was drafted in 2003. He's been through college with me. He's been through grad school with me. He's been through adult life, figuring things out, stayed up many times late. Don't forget to thank your heroes while they're living. So I said, thank you. And he said, wow, that means a lot. And I don't say it just because it's the end, but I appreciate his tenacity. I think he is a cross between Michael Jordan's fierceness and the tenacity of Allen Iverson. And I think what I most like about him is he's been able to reinvent himself about 3 times. 2006, he and Shaq did it. And then he got 2 guys that were drafted with him, and Chris Bosh and LeBron James. And he's gone on to 2 stellar things. He has one of the baddest chicks in the game that he's married to, Gabrielle Union. And I like him as an ambassador for the NBA, and I'm excited to see what he does post-career. I wish him nothing but the best. And, you see the love that he gets. I think he got love in his ending in a way that Kobe Bryant did not. He treats people good, and when you do good things come back to you.
Great player, great person as well. Great stuff, as always, from Brandon Robinson. Follow him on Twitter. Search for Scoop B and check out all of his great stuff. Brandon, we appreciate it, especially on short notice, pal. We'll talk with you soon.
My man, keep doing your thing.
It's Brandon Robinson, Scoop B Radio. Look, playoffs coming up. I'm sorry. I still find it hard to believe that anybody's going to beat Golden State. I'd love to see the Celtics turn around as a Celtics fan. I'd love to see Giannis go up against Steph Curry. I think it could be a lot of fun just because of the different dynamic. They're not going to play each other one-on-one, obviously, but I think it'd be a lot of fun. So I just can't see anybody beating Golden State. Can't do it. But Brandon's got some great insight. We're always happy to have him on the show, and go check him out on Twitter, Instagram, Scoop_B. Always happy to have him on. When we come back, your listener questions, the Masters, NHL playoffs, it's all coming up in a little bit. You're on Press Row, broadcasting as part of the Public House Media Network.
Listen to every episode and get the latest shows sent right to you. Subscribe to Press Row on iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spreaker.com, and Stitcher.com. Or visit us online at www.thephmedia.com.
This is Bryce Burge, host of Your Soccer Passport here on Public House Media. After this episode, come join us on a trip around the soccer world as we discuss club and country every Tuesday. Stamp your soccer passport by subscribing on Spotify, iTunes, or wherever you get your Public House Media podcasts. And thanks again for checking out the following broadcast on Public House Media.
This is Press Row with Christian Heimall, a Public House Media podcast.
Wrap up shop on this Thursday, April 11th, 2019. Christian Heimall with you on Press Row, broadcasting part of the Public House Media Network. Don't forget, you can always find us wherever you get your podcast, Spreaker.com, Stitcher.com. You can find us on Spotify, Apple and Google Podcasts as well. You can also check us out on the iHeartRadio app. That is true. Don't sleep on iHeartRadio. You can also go to publichousemedia.org, get all the great information, get some great swag as well for the show, help continue to make us one of the fastest growing sports podcasts in the country. You guys have been awesome. We love you guys. It's been a lot of fun. Nominated for a podcast award this past year, so really, really cool stuff. As always, you can find us on social media, Twitter and Instagram handle at PressRowPHM. Email the show, PressRowPHM, at gmail.com. You can also find us on Facebook, Press Row Podcast by Public House Media. Get your listener questions, as always, submitted through social media or through email. First one comes from Jeff. Who do you have winning the Masters? Can Rory McIlroy and can Jordan Spieth finally figure it out? Look, there's a lot of good guys here. I don't think Tiger's going to really be in contention. He hasn't done too much. I think he's having a lot more fun playing golf, which is better, honestly, for the game in general. To have him, if he's competitive, that's great. But I'm going to tell you right now, the guy that I'm really intrigued by, Justin Rose. Justin Rose has been so close for so long in his career at Augusta. It's incredible to watch him. I look at what he did at the Players this past month. I looked at what he did at the Arnold Palmer Invitational. He's been right there. I know the Arnold Palmer wasn't great, but winning the Farmers Insurance Open, everything that he's done, he's been so close for so long. And I think finishing second 2 of the last 4 times at Augusta, something just tells me he's going to be able to figure it out. So I got Justin Rose winning the Masters here this weekend, and I hope you guys enjoy it. It's really kind of cool. I know it's late this year, but it is really kind of neat to be able to go through this and see and watch the Masters. So I'll be looking forward and excited about it on Sunday. James in New Hampshire wants to know who I have winning the NHL. I'm not a big hockey guy, as everybody knows, but want to know who I've got winning the Stanley Cup. Look, this is interesting. This is a very weird year. It's kind of cool to watch, the Islanders do what they've done. Tampa Bay has been so freaking dominant. The Bruins are good. The Carolina Hurricanes and them sneaking in. Can the defending champs, the Caps, repeat? What do you have going on in the West with teams like Winnipeg and Dallas and Nashville, Vegas and all that stuff? Look, I'm making a bit of a homer pick. I'm not going to lie to you. I really am. I know a lot of people are picking Tampa Bay, but I'm just I'm going to go kind of homer here and pick the Nashville Predators. I don't know why, but they're a team that I really enjoy. I like watching Nashville play. I've always enjoyed what they're able to do. I know they haven't had the best of seasons here, but, Victor Arvidsson is phenomenal. Anytime you got a guy like Pekka Rinne, I'm pretty happy with it. So I'm going to ride with the Predators here in this one. Last one, Mike wants to know, if Max Holloway defeats Dustin Poirier and he fights Khabib, does he have any chance? No. Look, UFC 236 coming up this weekend is going to be a lot of fun. I'm really excited to watch Kelvin Gastelum and Israel Adesanya fight. That might be the most exciting fight on the card. Don't get me wrong. Poirier and Holloway meeting for the first time since their first fight 7 years ago, where Poirier just basically dominated Holloway. I think Max wins this fight. He's such a tremendous fighter. I'm so excited to watch it. But if he ends up fighting Khabib, as many people predict, should he win this fight, there's no way he beats the Eagle. Khabib Nurmagomedov is so freaking talented, it's not even funny. That being said, there's so much great sports this weekend. And thank you guys for your questions. As always, we appreciate it on social media, Twitter and Instagram at PressRowPHM. Email the show, PressRowPHM@gmail.com, or find us on Facebook, Press Row by Public House Media. Big thanks to Brandon Robinson, Scoop B, joining us here to talk NBA. He's great with so much information, and also the references and the analogies he makes. I mean, we talked Chuck E. Cheese and the Lakers. It was weird, but it was awesome. So, as always, we appreciate you guys more than anything else getting your press pass and joining us right here on Press Row. So much great sports going on this weekend. NBA, NHL playoffs already in effect. The Masters is coming up, and, of course, UFC 236. Guys, as always, we appreciate you so much. Don't forget to find us Spotify, Apple and Google Podcasts, Spreaker.com, Stitcher.com, and, of course, check us out at publichousemedia.org, where you can get so much great information, not only just this show, but everything else that we do. And until next week, I'll see you on Press Row, broadcast as part of the Public House Media Network.